Hey guys, Frightener22 here, and welcome back to the season premiere of Frightener22's Saturday Night Movie Drive-In. As you guys can see, I had such a blast shooting Season 1 of Saturday Night Movie Drive-In that Season 2 was just absolutely inevitable. So, of course, if you guys hark back to my At the Movies where I reviewed the 2010 remake of The Wolfman, I didn't exactly get all of those werewolf tendencies out of my system right away, so I knew I wanted to debut the new season of Saturday Night Movie Drive-In by looking at a rather underrated werewolf gem from the 1980s. Yes, I'm talking about 1985's Silver Bullet. Now, this film, in my opinion, like I said, is really highly underrated because I think when people, horror fans in general, really think about the werewolf genre, particularly in the 1980s, they think about the classic golden year of werewolf films, that being 1981, where two classic werewolf films got released simultaneously. The first one I'm talking about is, of course, An American Werewolf in London, and you guys can actually hark back to my 31 Frightening Days of Halloween marathon to hear my detailed thoughts on that film, and the other film, of course, being the Joe Dante classic, The Howling. But it wasn't until 1985 where Silver Bullet came along, and Silver Bullet is actually based upon a novelette called Cycle of the Werewolf by Stephen King. Now, I actually never read the novelette, but the film that eventually became Silver Bullet was based on this novelette, and Stephen King did in fact come back and write the screenplay for this film. Now in this film, it takes place in a town called Tarker's Mill, and basically it picks up with murders happening all over the town, and the townfolk immediately assume that a maniacal killer is on the loose, but it isn't until a 13 wheelchair-bound kid, played by Corey Haim, discovers that it's actually a werewolf doing all the murders. So with the help of his Uncle Red, played by Gary Busey, they both go about trying to uncover and put an end to the werewolf killing sprees going all over town. Now, this film is really, really great, and the best thing about a film like Silver Bullet, particularly for me, is the fact that I remember, really digging this movie when I had seen it, a few, years back. But the best thing about it was, taking it off the shelf for the sake of reviewing it for Saturday Night Movie Drive-In, and kind of, just remembering just how fucking great it really was. And that is, like, the best feeling you can get from harking back to a movie that you hadn't seen in a long while, and you just kind of, vaguely remember vibes or, feelings that you had from it, but it isn't until you pop it back on that you actually remember just what a gem this movie is. And Silver Bullet is it's like the shiniest fucking gem that I've actually pulled out of my collection in a long, long while. Now, the coolest thing about this is that, of course, this is a werewolf movie, and, it deals with, murders and, violent rampages going all over this town and whatnot. But the interesting thing is that as the movie takes place within the first half hour, all these, murders are happening, and it's not so much where people in the town are assuming that this could be at the hands of, like, a grisly beast or whatever. No, they're all immediately assuming that it's, some kind of crazed serial killer on the loose. And it's cool because the only time that you actually feel that it's a werewolf movie within the first 30 to 45 minutes is when you see, the glimpses of the werewolf actually committing the murders, such as the opening scene, and then a few murders, in and around the 30 to 45 minute mark. But other than those scenes that remind you that you're actually seeing a beast terrorizing these people, it actually really plays like a whodunit serial killer movie, which is really cool and very, very effective, because you're not really in the mindset of thinking, oh shit, when's that beast coming out? I can't wait to see how fucking cool the designs are. No, you're actually kind of like, you kind of get lost in seeing how, the murders are affecting these townspeople, and, it kind of adds to that, just making it feel like it's actually a serial killer and forgetting that it is, a really, fantastical thing such as a werewolf. So it plays really, really well. I just love how this film starts. Another great thing that's about this movie, and it's a fucking shame because, people, like I said, always talk about American Werewolf in London and The Howling because they are, without a doubt, absolutely fucking great werewolf movies, but Silver Bullet kind of gets, like, overlooked, and I kind of don't understand why, because if not for anything else, Silver Bullet is incredibly fucking violent. I mean, from the opening scene, there's a guy working on a railroad track, and the werewolf in this film just fucking straight up decapitates this fucker. Like, what a cool murder to just kickstart this whole movie. Moving along, the fucking really gory and disturbing murder in this is when the werewolf actually creeps into a house and kills a woman that just recently finds out that she's pregnant. Now, how fucked up could that be? Not only are you murdering a woman, but you're murdering a woman that's actually pregnant. So that just kind of adds to the gore and, the disturbing grisly images that are seen before you, knowing, that victim was in fact pregnant at the time. So that is just something that I think goes completely over the radar about this, is just how violent it is. And then, of course, as the film actually dwindles on, Corey Haim's character has a best friend, and his best friend, who is in and around the same age as himself, gets murdered as well, which is awesome. And the coolest thing about it is that you think, of course, like I had spoken before about how grisly and violent the murders were committed to the two other characters. The great thing is that when his best friend is murdered, you don't see it. The director really played it really, really cool, and, harking back to that less is more tendency, which is beautifully, really, wonderfully effectful in this. And that's another wonderful, beautiful part about this. The director, Daniel Attias, I believe that's his last name. Yeah, Daniel Attias. It's, he worked this film like a real pro. I mean, he built suspense, he gave gore when it was good, and then when he just really wanted to focus in on the actors and how it affected the people, he just backed off. You didn't need to see grisly images. You just had to see the drama and the horror coming from these people's faces to really get, the sheer scare and shock value of it. So this guy really did some incredible work on this. And it's really a shame, because when you actually look back, prior to shooting this review, I was kind of curious, what the hell did this guy do after the... He never shot another feature film after Silver Bullet. Silver Bullet was his directorial debut, and after that, for years and years, he just did tons of TV work, working on such films, TV shows rather, as 21 Jump Street, Miami Vice, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and more recently, The Sopranos. And it's I guess maybe that was just the career path that he chose for himself, but he did a really, really bang-up job on Silver Bullet. So I would love to see this guy come back and do a feature film, whenever it works for him. Now, I'm sure all you guys are probably wondering, okay, you keep talking about how great this movie is and stuff. Now, what are the setbacks of it? Now, of course, with any film, there's going to be some minor gripes, but really the only minor gripe I really, really do have with this is just a little, the design of the werewolf isn't exactly the best. I mean, at the end, when the final, the climax of the film comes, and of course Gary Busey with Corey Haim, and of course Corey Haim's sister are set to do battle with the werewolf. The werewolf just kind of comes off and looks a little bit more like a grizzly bear rather than like, a classic looking werewolf. But really that's like the smallest gripe. I mean, because that's really the only time that you actually get to see the werewolf in its full glory, because every time before that, the director really harked back to the whole less is more kind of quality, and it works. And I mean, the last scene really isn't as long as, many people would probably want it to be and stuff like that. So it's, not... That's the only thing that kind of just kills the ending a little bit. It's just, it might take you out of it just seeing the werewolf design in its full glory. But I mean, like I said, that's really a minor gripe, because in my opinion, other than that little thing, this film truly is, in my opinion, just about a near perfect horror film. It really is that fucking good. Now, some minor things just to add and throw in there is that at one point, actually, Don Coscarelli was attached to direct this, and of course, Don Coscarelli is responsible for the Phantasm series, but he left due to creative differences with the producer Dino De Laurentiis. But I just found that to be really interesting that another, director that was responsible for such a classic horror series was actually attached at one point to this, really, really phenomenal film. But in closing, guys, this film is truly, really something stunning and highly underrated. So I think if you guys are really thirsting for something fun and, really, really engaging, look no further than 1985's Silver Bullet. I highly doubt any of you guys would be disappointed with this if you really dig the werewolf franchise and you guys are just a sucker for 80s films in general that star the likes of Corey Haim and the great Gary Busey. So go out there and see this, because I give this 2 thumbs up. Frightener 22 gives it his complete seal of approval. As always, guys, thanks again for tuning in to Saturday Night Movie Drive-In, and I'll see you next time. This is Frightener 22.